Welcome back, guys. Fish Tank Mike here. Today we're going to be setting up a new mini version of the Ancient Gardens tank. The last tank we set up is this guy right here. I have gone in since the setup and put in some boost plants and some anubias. You can see those right there. Kind of spruce things up a little bit, give it a little bit more flair. And now we're just waiting for the water to get crystal clear, going through that process of letting the wood leach out all of its tannins. Yesterday I went ahead and I set up the middle tank here, got everything all ready to go, got our hanging ONF light looking really clean, and all three of these tanks will eventually be the same. They are 36 by 20 inch water box freshwater tanks, and I think based on this we're getting about 10 more gallons. There's a little bit more front to back here compared to the old 40 breeders that we had. This guy right here in the middle is not the tank we're going to be setting up today. We're going to be doing the mini Ancient Gardens in this tank, or at least this position. We got to swap out and get our new tank in here. We are going to be reusing the substrate, so this is a mix of like some Brightwell and some contra soil and probably some other stuff. I think there's some laterite in here as well, but we don't have a ton of substrate laying around these days. We want to reuse it, and there's no reason not to. So we're going to scoop this stuff out and then make the tank swap, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing today. Alright guys, we've made it this far. The tank is all set up and ready to go. I hope you enjoyed that kind of long montage. I did put on the filter input and output up here, so when the time comes, we'll be ready to hook up our little Awaza FiltoSmart Thermo 200 on here. We're not going to have to worry so much about a heavy filtration on this tank. We should be all good to go. The ONF Flat One Plus, I believe it is called, it's the newer one, is matching up here with all three of our lights over here, looking really good. Don't worry about what's going on in there. And of course I had to give it a little bit of personal touch. We got our AutoCat static cling on there, as well as the Aquapros logo. Guys, you can check those out in the store if you want to see more of them. Here's some more down here on this tank, but we're not showing that one. So let's go ahead, let's get started, guys. Here's the hardscape, guys. What do you think? Let me know down in the chat below. There's only one thing that I want to do, and that is grab the Sangani roots and connect some of these trees like we did in the original Ancient Gardens. So we'll do that here in just a second, and then we'll get to planting it. But the only other decision I have to make is if I want our path here kind of right of center to slope upward a little bit. So I'm going to think about that a little bit more, and if I decide to, we'll add in a little bit more substrate, and then once we fill the tank up with water, then I'll probably pipe in some sand so that it's more pronounced, and then we'll have a secondary path going up here and snaking around back there, and then I think we're going to be pretty good to go. I mean, we have hopefully enough Monte Carlo to put on the trees. Obviously, that's what we're going to put on here, guys. But yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. Alright guys, we got her all done here, skipped a few steps, so let me catch you up a little bit. First things first, of course, we got the filter running, so I'm happy with the flow we're getting out of this Thermo 200. I still think that the majority of people over filter their aquariums a little bit. Of course, we're always talking about planted tanks, not non-planted tanks. You definitely need to have filtration on those guys. But if we come down here, we also have the CO2 hooked up, so we have our three-way CO2 art regulator with the green on the left side going to our leftmost tank, and then we'll eventually have the middle one going to this tank and the right one going to that tank. Check this thing for leaks and we're all good to go. So CO2 art stuff, guys, if you want to save 10%, you can use my code Aquapros. There will of course be a link down in the description for this stuff. What else we got? So the light, did we talk about the light? So this is an ONF, you know, really high quality premium stuff, expensive light fixture, but it is a freaking Ferrari. So let's go ahead and turn this thing up all the way. The camera probably doesn't do it justice, but this thing is super, super bright. Actually, the whole time that we were doing the setup, it was only on 50% power, and I didn't even realize it until my elbow turned it off and turned it back on, reset it back to full power, and I was like, dang. So not sure if we're gonna run this thing at full blast. I think we'll probably run it at like 70% or 80%. It's app controlled, so you can dial it into basically whatever you want, plus or minus 10%. So we'll probably do that. One thing that I don't like about the super high brightness is that it kind of drowns out the backlight that we have on this. So the current Serene background light, we got it on my favorite color, orange. I think that was what we used on Ancient Garden the most, and I really do like it. So if we come down here to the middle point, then we get to kind of see a different perspective, or the main view of the scape is like from right here. So we got the channel through there, we have the kind of angled rocks and the cliff over here with the tree on it. And like I mentioned before, we're probably going to do some paths in here, one path here, and then kind of curve a path up here. I'm going to make that a separate video on just how to add substrate to an aquarium after the fact. I think that would be probably good for a lot of people. I think that's maybe something people want to see happen, so we'll work on that. And I probably should have mentioned earlier, but we are just diffusing CO2 kind of the default way there. Have it positioned on this side, which is the outflow side, so some of those bubbles then get pushed around the aquarium. But I don't think we're going to have to worry about it too much. We have our CO2 checker over here. This will turn green when the CO2 is like 30 parts per million. I really do like these checkers the best because you don't have to have something in the tank. Really, they just kind of sit there and they're invisible. This is just something that I got off of Amazon for like 10 bucks. So I'll try and remember to throw a link in there if you want to check these out. Beyond that, guys, I don't really think there's much more to say or do today. You know, we threw in some anubias down there just to kind of break up the coloring, and then we had a little bit of hair grass left. Not looking too hot, but I just put that in there for fun, and we might follow that up with some more hair grass maybe when we do the first update video, also when we put in the path. So we don't want to put any hair grass in where the path is going to go. We want it to kind of just gently blend into it, and then we can pull it out. So I think we'll hold off on doing that. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think of the scape. What kind of fish should we put in this? I have a couple ideas, but you guys always come up with way better ideas than I do, so drop them down in the chat, in the comments, or whatever we're calling them these days. And I think that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the scape. Bringing back the Ancient Gardens. I think we did a pretty good job, but let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Hit the notification bell. Do all that YouTube stuff. Thank you. I appreciate it. It helps out a lot. And we'll see you in the next episode. I think we're going to do an update on the angelfish tank, see what's been going on over there. The tank still looks pretty good, but we've had a couple issues. We'll talk about that. Yeah, thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time.